Yo, what is going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I got the updated best settings for Cold War. Obviously, we're about a month away from the CDL World Championships. So basically, unless Treyarch is absolutely stupid. However, actually, Call of Duty is pretty notorious for making a big ass update to the game right before champs. So hopefully, most likely, this will be the last updated Cold War settings video, because obviously we're near the end of the game's life cycle. However, if they do make a huge update that changes the game or breaks it, I will definitely stay up to date with that and upload another video, but this should be the last one. So let's get right into it. Um, and all of these settings are settings that professionals use and high-end top tier streamers. Okay, so let's go. And once again, yes, it's for controller. So first things first, horizontal stick sensitivity and vertical. 6.6, all of the pros play anywhere from 5 to 7 max. Um, that's where all the pros and streamers play. That's where I play as well, 6 to 6. That's basically the sweet spot. Once again, sensitivity, however, is a personal preference thing at the end of the day. If you play better with 1, go for it. If you play better with 20, it's up to you. However, the higher your sensitivity is, the more inconsistent your aim will be. The lower it is, the more consistent your aim will be. So, basically, find your sweet spot. It's usually anywhere from 5 to 7 for most people, especially pros. And then ADS sensitivity low zoom. This is when you're aimed in with any normal gun that does not have a sniper scope or anything over a 3 times scope. So for the low zoom, all of the pros are anywhere from 0.80 to 1. That's basically the sweet spot for all streamers and professional players. I personally love 0.90 because it's not too slow and it's not too fast. And that way, whenever I'm aimed in, I usually don't swift back and forth around my target. I'm usually pretty consistent with this, so anywhere from 0.80 to 1 is the sweet spot. Try it out. Um, but yeah. And then a lot of people just go with 1-1 for both of these. Like that's usually what most people do. It's honestly not that big of a difference. It's just personal preference at the end of the day if you want to be really detailed with your settings. But anyways, for the high zoom, this is when you got a sniper scope or anything with a 4 time and above scope. When you're at 1, if you're trying to like drag scope and like follow someone's movement with your sniper scope and you're aimed in, 1 is a little too slow to keep up with them, but when you have it to 1.2, that's when you can easily keep up with them and you can easily make some nice snaps and flicks, flashy plays. 1.2 is usually where all of the pros are and all the high-end streamers are, but 1 works perfectly as well if you're not trying to keep up with people while you're aimed in. But anyways, 1.2 or 1, that's basically the sweet spot. Try and find it for yourself. And then if you don't have a scuff controller and you don't have back pedals, a lot of people usually just play tactical flipped. Tactical is basically the best setting because you can slide without moving your thumb off of your right joystick, so you'll be more accurate and you can, aim around without having to move your thumbstick and stuff like that. Slide canceling is a lot easier as well. And then flipped because when it comes to shooting and reaction times and just getting the first shot off as quick as possible, the bumpers are the best for that. And then the triggers, you have to like really push down on them a little bit. Takes a while, for the shot to register and stuff like that. So definitely go with flipped. Tactical flipped is what the vast majority of pros play with if they don't have scuff controllers or back pedals. But yeah, or you can do tactical flipped and just play with your claw. Like play claw, just search up claw controller, and then you guys can just do that as well. And then anyways, this is just default. And then aim response curve type, that is dynamic. Pros literally will die by dynamic. This is what basically every single professional uses is dynamic. And then you have some pros like Dashi that uses standard. It's at the end of the day, it's not that big of a difference, but in my opinion, and a lot of other pros' opinion, dynamic is definitely the best one. Um, yeah, and then controller vibration disabled because when you're shooting, you don't want your controller to like shake in your hand and throw your aim off. I just personally don't like it. A lot of pros don't like it. Um, but yeah, if you like it, then that's just up to you. And then trigger effect, I keep that at disabled because it just makes it harder for you to shoot and like throw grenades and stuff like that. Target aim assist, you want to keep that enabled. Otherwise, you won't have aim assist. Definitely keep that enabled. And then for target aim assist mode, you want to stick with standard or legacy. Some people use legacy, but the vast majority of pros and streamers just stick with standard. And then ADS aim assist, this is for campaign and zombies, so it's nothing to do with multiplayer. You can turn it on or off, that's up to you. But honestly, I just keep it on because who doesn't want some extra aim assist in zombies or campaign? And then for the airborne mantle behavior, put it on automatic. Makes it easier to jump around and mantle on stuff. Um, Moving on to the ADS behavior, you want to keep it at hold. That's just the default, unless you like toggle. I mean, you're kind of weird for that, but hold's good for that. Steady aim behavior. This is such an underrated, overlooked setting. A lot of people don't even know what this setting does, but basically, when you're scoped in with your sniper and you want to steady your breath, you have to hold down the L3 the whole time you want to steady your breath. But if you put this on toggle, you simply have to press L3 once and it'll stay your aim will stay steady until your player loses breath and has to regain. So definitely this is a very underrated setting. Definitely turn this to toggle, especially if you're a person that snipes a lot. Um, Armor behavior, just put it to apply all because personally I don't like holding the triangle button. It keeps me away from my joystick for way too long, so definitely keep it to apply all. You have to just press the triangle once and then it'll apply all your plates for you. So that's a pretty big setting. And then this is just the default, default, this is default, and then now we're getting into the juicy stuff. So for your left stick minimum input threshold, I know at the beginning of the year a lot of people said to put it at like 100 or like the normal default thing, but if you think about it, you want to have your left stick minimum input threshold at 1 or as low as you can because that way, when it comes to like reacting and trying to move around, the slightest movement in your left joystick, your player will move. It makes it easier for you to move around, easier for you to finesse and just strafe side to side. Definitely put it to 1, trust me. And then that's what all the pros are doing. And then for the left stick maximum input threshold, you do not want to put this at the default highest, and you don't want to bring it down too much down either. You want to find the sweet spot, which is usually anywhere from 40 to about 60 or 70. 40 to 70, that's like the sweet spot. Because if you bring it down a little bit too much, then your player is just going to be moving on its own and it's going to be like just moving on its own. You're going to be your player's going to be doing something you don't even want it to do. And then if it's too high, then it kind of defeats the purpose of you bringing down to this to 1. So basically 1 to 60 is basically about like this like what a lot of pro players use. That's definitely what you want to be going with, but definitely experiment with it and just see what the sweet spot is for you because it really depends on your joystick's health at the moment. If your joysticks are really worn out, then you're in trouble. So then you obviously have to do something about that and experiment with it. But if your joysticks are relatively new and they're pretty good for the most part, like mine, then you can definitely stick with these settings. And then for the right stick, you want to put it at anywhere from, or actually, once again, depends on your health of your joystick. If your right joystick is kind of worn out, you want to pop this up a little bit more to the point where your player doesn't look around on its own, if that makes sense. And then you want to keep this down up to 99, um, because yeah, just do it anyways. And then trigger dead zone sensitivity. This is kind of a new one. Basically, you have when you're pressing the shoot button, you have to like press down all the way or like a certain amount for your person to shoot. But the lower this is, the less harder and longer you have to press the shoot button. So if you have this at the lowest, you just literally have to give it the slightest tap on your bumper and it'll shoot. So definitely bring this all the way down. It'll give you the ability to pop off the first shot way before your enemy 10 out of 10 times. And then controller sounds disabled because yeah, like you're just weird if you have that on. Unless you don't have a headset, then I guess that's different. And then auto sprint enabled because I mean, come on now. You're gonna save your joystick, you're gonna save your thumbs in the long run. Definitely the way to go. Auto sprint is amazing. Sprint cancel reload disabled. That is such a pain in the butt, especially if you're an aggressive player. This is default. and then default, and then the interact and reload behavior. Honestly, a lot of people just go with tap to reload or tap to interact or prioritize reload, but no, prioritize interact is the best setting for this without a doubt, especially if you are a very aggressive player like me. I am a super aggressive player, so I absolutely hate having to stop and holding down my square button or my interact button. It is such a drag. It makes me so slow, so much slower, and it just slows down my pace. So when I have it to prioritize interact, I could literally be jumping off of a building, shoot someone in the sky, and then while I'm falling down midair, I can still press the square button and grab the dude's gun in midair, and like I won't have to stop at all. Like that's something I've actually done in game. It's insane. This thing is literally the best setting. Definitely use that, especially if you're an aggressive player. And then colorblind modes, a lot of people have it to the default is perfect, but for me, I kind of switched up for the enemy color and the party color because I didn't really like this shade of red, and then I didn't really like this shade of turquoise. So basically, as you guys can see on the right side, for my U, I have it at yellow, the normal one, and then my ally is the normal dark blue, and then the enemy, I have it to a brighter red so I can see the enemy name tags and stuff easier. And then my party, I have it to a nice little turquoise um, blue. And then brightness is 50, it's just normal. Ray tracing, you want to have this disabled, um, or or actually no, you want to keep this enabled. Sorry, make sure you, sorry, make sure you keep it enabled. Ray tracing, keep it enabled. And then as it goes for 120 hertz refresh rate, your boy doesn't have that good of a monitor, so obviously I gotta get a new monitor that supports 120. So once you get a 120 hertz monitor, definitely put this thing up all the way. You want as much refresh rate as possible. It's very important, especially in FPS. And then this is just horizontal if you play split screen. And then field of view. This is a really big topic as well. A lot of people find their sweet spot, especially pros and streamers find their sweet spot anywhere from 95, or not even 95, more like anywhere from 90 to about 105. That's about as high as you should go. You can stretch it up to 110, but that's a little too much. But yeah, anywhere from like I would say 90 to 105 is perfect, honestly speaking. And for me, I stick with 105 because I just that's like my sweet spot. But yeah, anywhere from 90 to 105 should be perfect. And then ADS field of view, if you're a person that sits back all the time and doesn't really push up close quarters and you're someone that just sits back, definitely go with independent because that way when you're sitting back, you can still have like when you're sitting back far, you still see the entire map, you know? Like you don't need that extra FOV. You're so far back and you can see everything either way. So that way when you aim in all the way from the back of the map, when you aim in, it'll zoom in a little bit and it'll help you hit your shots easier. But if you're um someone that like pushes up and stays in people's faces and stuff like that, then you should definitely have it to affect it because when you're pushing around, you're up in people's faces, you want as much FOV as possible, and you don't want your character to zoom in when you aim in because that's gonna disabilitate you, I guess you could say, in a way. So yeah, the more aggressive you are, you want to have it to affect it. The less aggressive and more of a sit back in the back of the map type of person you are, you want to have it on independent. It just depends on your playstyle, and then this is just the default and motion blur. Have it on disabled. Please do not turn on motion blur. Like, don't do that to yourself. Turn off motion blur. It is like one of the worst settings to have on. And then for the master volume, I always keep this at 100, but when I'm recording videos, like right now, I just bump it down a little bit so the background game music doesn't overtake my voice so you guys can hear me properly. But otherwise, when you're playing the game, definitely keep this at 100 all the time. Music volume, I keep it at 0 because the last thing I need is for some stupid soundtrack to start playing when I'm in a 1v1 in round 11 and all the stakes are high, you know? So yeah, definitely keep this at 0. Keep your master volume at 100 and then everything else at 100 as well. So basically everything 100 except for your music volume, keep that to 0. And then for the audio presets, Treyarch Mix is honestly the best one. All the pros use it, all the streamers use it. Treyarch Mix is definitely the best one to go with. But if you want, like, if you want to hear footsteps slightly more louder, high boost is definitely the way to go. But it's honestly such a minimal difference, you're not even gonna recognize it. And Treyarch Mix is just a little bit softer on your ears, and you still have the benefit of hearing all the footsteps and stuff like that. So yeah, either Treyarch Mix or high bass boost or whatever it's called. And then hit marker sound effects, definitely keep that enabled. You want to hear if your shots are hitting. That's very important. And then if you like the Cold War hit marker sound effect, you can keep it to default, or you can go to the classic hit marker sound effect. I like the classic hit marker sound effect for the nostalgia. And then voice chat, that's just enabled. Game chat, 1, um, 70 and 1. These are just like the default voice chat settings. Obviously, depending on your mic or your headset, you might want to change that around if you can't really hear people or people can't hear you. And then lastly, for the interface, everything here is basically just, honestly, just default. Subtitles, I keep them off because they're just distracting and I don't need them. Uh, so yeah, and then crosshairs, you got to keep your crosshairs shown. These are just all default basically. You guys can just pause the video and check them out. Just default stuff. And then let's go down. And yeah, and then keyboard and mouse, I can't help you with that because I don't have a keyboard and mouse. I play with the controller, and account and network is just like my personal internet connection and stuff like that. So yeah, that's basically the entire in-depth settings for Cold War. Um, that should be it. Hopefully, Treyarch does not release a game-breaking setting change thingy or whatever. So hopefully this will be the last updated Cold War settings. If you guys haven't already, make sure to subscribe and like and share the channel with your friends and teammates. Share the video, help them get better. And then also go to the link in the description below for my Twitch, Discord, and sponsor. Use code PRAB for 10% off any purchase. And I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.